guys. Let's go. All right. Let me hit record here.
Come on, Phil.
All right, guys, we got an experience for you here. Now, our next guests are accomplished actor. Well, the first one here is an accomplished actor, voice actor, stand-up comedian with over 160 credits on his resume, including Goku in Ocean's English dubs of Dragon Ball Z. Next up for that, guys, cheeseburgers, fries, and blueberry pies. We have the voice of Pan from Dragon Ball GT. And finally, the king of demons himself, also a delicious cookie, Deborah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Peter Calamis, Elise Bowman, and Rick. Exactly where you guys are at. Ooh, how we doing, guys?
How do we use these things? Oh my god, this is so amazing that we have 3 Dragon Ball actors on stage. It's so cool. I don't even want to be on stage. I just want to be in the crowd.
I feel like we're on a game
You don't
show.
want to be on stage either, so that's good.
We need game show buzzers.
We got some fun things on, but for all 3 of you, do you remember auditioning for your respective roles? Can you give us a little story behind that? I'll let you guys pick those first.
You?
Specifically for Goku DB, I'm assuming Goku. For me it was Ian Corlett was kind of the original OG English Goku in North America. And so he was on the show for a while and had to move on for whatever reasons. And then they held open auditions. So it was a blanket audition, and we got some footage to listen to of Ian doing the role. And I've said it before, me and Ian's cadence is a little similar, a little bit deeper maybe, but we would audition for the same projects a lot, and it just so happened that they liked what they heard, and the next thing I knew, I had the part, and when it came out, there was, I didn't know what to expect, and some people liked it, a lot of people hated me so much that there was a change, and then certain people, turned the corner and were like, okay, well maybe he's okay.
I love him.
Kind of like him.
I love him.
Yeah, I remember at the time there were like votes online, like did you like Ian, and it still continues today with like which Goku is your favorite. Ian Corlett puts it the best, I think. It's almost like saying who's your favorite James Bond or something. Well, it's the one usually that you grew up with, usually.
Right.
But you're allowed to like any one of them, and there's no wrong choice.
Mine's the Goku standing in front of me here at Ani-Medford, right? Elise, how about you?
I do remember because I was so excited to audition for Pan, and I have asthma, and so about twice a year I get a really bad bout and it affects my voice, and I got that right before my audition, and so I was a little raspier than the grandpa that you usually hear, but I was like, I am going to this audition, I don't care, I am making this happen. And so for me, once I booked it and started recording, the rasp was gone because I was no longer sick. And I wasn't sick contagious, but sick with asthma and having trouble speaking. And so I was like, they're gonna hire me. And so each time I went in to record, I'm like, okay, I'm still here. Oh, okay, I'm back. And so it was about 6 or so episodes where I'm like, okay, I think I got it. And then 65 episodes, I felt pretty good about it. So I very clearly remember auditioning.
You bring up a very good life lesson, by the way.
What's that?
People that are worried about being fired almost never get fired. And the people that don't almost always do.
Then I'm going to worry more.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, I feel like a complete fraud because I did not audition for the boy. No, it's not. I was friends with Chris Sabat, and he said, I got a role here I think you'd really like. And, we came in and did it. And started doing more stuff.
Hey, speaking of a firing story, I once, I don't know if it was firing or just been released from a project. I mean, it's a nice way to say it, but this was an interesting reason why. It was an animated series, and apparently I never got to see it, the final product, but it started in real life, real world, real people, and then it went into an animated segment for the whole middle part of the show, and then it ended off with human beings wrapping up the program. But the interesting thing was it was being produced by Jim Carrey, and every episode had a different charity that the show's money was donated to. So it was like this fantastic cause every time. So I had recorded, it was a massive auditioning and callback process, and I landed one of the roles, and it was great. I recorded like 8 episodes, and they would have a big guest star every week, like a big name person that we never knew who it was going to be because they didn't record with us. So I'm at an airport, my agent calls in and goes, oh, hey, so you've been cut from that show. And I'm like, what? I've already done like 8 episodes. And he goes,
Aww.
yeah, well, apparently Jim Carrey was having lunch with Hank Azaria. The story sounds weird, like unbelievable. He's having lunch with Hank Azaria because he was offering him one of the guest star roles for that week, just for the week. And then Hank Azaria goes, well, what about that character? And he goes, sure, do that. And that was my character. So I got paid for the episodes I did. But if you're going to get fired, I think getting fired for Hank Azaria is a pretty good reason, I guess. I'd hire him.
Absolutely the best way to get fired.
Yeah, the way to get fired.
Yeah, it's Hank Azaria. Guys, all right, so you all came in at different points for Dragon Ball, like just Dragon Ball in general, right? Did any of you guys know what you were getting into when you got into it? So it's kind of like, were you aware of Dragon Ball and kind of like how much of a massive phenomenon it was? And for Pete, you got on fairly early.
Yeah.
But you were towards the end of the show and you were in that series. So it's like, did you guys know how much of a massive cultural phenomenon Dragon Ball was?
No, I mean, they were before me, but even coming in at GT, I didn't know. I didn't even know anime at the time. I then started loving anime. I was a fan of animation, and when I got into that world, I just had no idea. I certainly didn't know I would be here with you all of these years later. So I feel so lucky to have gotten in on it, to have both fan, to have done that for so many years.
Yeah, I remember I had 2 sons, and they were, I want to say about maybe 7 and 9 or 10, and I thought it would impress them if I was like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And by the way, before that, there were no Comic Cons, you know what I'm saying? It was like, we didn't have a place to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my sons, not only were they not impressed, nobody believed them. Like when they went to school, I said, my dad's still wearing it. No, he's not. And so anyway, I went to one of their home rooms, and this little kid comes marching up to me. I've never heard of this. And he goes, you're not the boy on Dragon Ball Z? Yes, I am. I am the king of the demon world. I think I scared him so bad he bit himself.
I just wet myself right now, so.
When our daughter was young, I had done a number of Barbie DVDs. I think I totally did about 8 of them. And one of them was Barbie as a pop star, Barbie and a pop star. And I played a character called Kreider, which is Barbie's manager, this annoying guy. And I remember our daughter watching it, and my wife saying, well, that's Dada. And she's like, no, that's Kreider. What's the voice for it? No. Not impressed, not convinced, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get a lot of, don't do that, talk in your real voice?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I gotta ask this.
Yeah.
How much prep work did you guys put into grunting?
Put into what?
Into grunting.
Oh, a lot of grunting. And, I don't know about you guys, but even loved. I had these moments where I was like, I can't believe I'm in a booth going, yeah, yeah. But then it's also the, oh. And so I was not used to that, but I would find myself at home closing the cabinet door going, you know, my husband's like, what sound effects for everything we do at home. So that was something that was new to me.
Yeah, I don't have footage of me voicing Goku like in the studio, but I had to imagine it. It's much like, you know when a cat is at the window and it sees a bird outside? It was pretty much like that, I think, because we're watching the screen and we're just like, that was work for the day.
And what I love is the scripts. Medium grunt.
Yeah.
Small oof. You know, you know, it's like everything is weird.
Two lines of dialogue and then 18 pages of fighting.
Right.
Peter, you mentioned it yesterday. Tell us about the recording process of how it changed based on the grunting and like how it affects your voice and whatnot.
Yeah, when we started, we would do the script like chronologically, like as you would think, page 1, page 2, page 3. But in these massive fight scenes, we would have sometimes dialogue in the beginning, fight for 18 pages, and then have more dialogue, and then when we tried to do the dialogue at the end, our voice was shot. So then, instead of the producers going, hey, maybe we'll give you more time. No, what they did was, they made us do all the dialogue for like 5 episodes in a row, and then we would do all the screaming for 5 episodes in a row for like 4 hours. Literally 4 hours of screaming.
So basically, like, you have entire sessions, because there's entire episodes where all you did was, Exactly. Yeah.
I think I said this to you, but I can't remember how many years ago, but they decided to re-record Dragon Ball Z. And Chris Sabat comes to me and he goes, it's going to be all killer, no filler. And I said, less dialogue and more fighting, really? Yeah. Loved it.
And then you got killed off. I mean, is that what you meant?
Say that again?
I said, and then you got killed off. Is that what you meant?
No, I gotta eat. There's a difference.
All right, let's switch gears. So, we're at a con. What's it been like here at the con, seeing all these people, from city to city? What has the reception been like for all of you?
It's been awesome. I signed somebody who was wearing a TV as a head. I signed.
Shout out to the TV guy.
Yeah, he's around somewhere. He or she is around somewhere because I don't know their face. I signed a samurai sword, and then I signed a 2-month-old baby. It's been pretty awesome.
Me too.
You signed the baby too.
I signed the baby too.
Yeah.
The question is, where did you sign the baby? Was it on the forehead, or?
I found a good area on his belly that was clear of signatures. So, right over the belly button area, right around there.
Oh, that's going to hear 30 years from now. So Brad, what have you never made?
The autograph.
We're just throwing it out there. That baby is now worth a lot more money, so.
The baby is on eBay right now.
No, this convention has been great, and I just love conventions in general. Rick and I did our first convention together in 2018, so we had not gotten the memo about conventions, even though some of our Dragon Ball Z buddies had been doing it for a while. So I just love when people come together for the anime fandom or Dragon Ball fandom, whatever it is. So I love the energy of conventions, and this one is no exception. I love it. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Woo! Nice to you. Please give yourself a huge hand. Thank you so much.
So we got something fun for all 3 of you guys here. So all 3 of your respective characters have not been on Dragon Ball at the same time, right? Technically Goku and Pan, but different versions of the character, right? So we want to kind of do something fun for the audience here. For the first time, would you guys mind doing a quick little fantasy Dragon Balling?
Not a problem.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is what we're gonna do, guys. Who here is familiar with improv?
I am.
What we're gonna ask them to do is improv a scene that's never happened in Dragon Ball. Would you guys like that?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the scene. transported the Goku that during the Frieza saga, the whole Frieza storyline, right, has been transported in time, and for the first time, he's meeting his granddaughter. Okay, right? Now they're having this whole heartfelt get together, but all of a sudden, Kingdom Bora walks in to break up all the fun. All right, okay, go at it. All right.
Well, hey there, little girl. Who are you?
Well, I'm Pan. Who are you?
Wait a sec. I'm not even married.
Well, what? I don't even know what that means.
Neither do I. This is weird.
This is weird. But you were telling me that you're my grandpa?
Well, that's awesome. You know, I used to have a monkey tail.
A monkey tail? What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Absolutely nothing. I'm just very nervous.
I can tell. You're acting a bit weird.
All right, honey, I'm home. Oh, I'm sorry. What's this little boy doing here?
I'm a girl.
You're a girl?
And she's my granddaughter.
Yeah, that's my grandpa. And
Apparently.
Apparently, yes. And you are...
Somebody hiding from Majin Buu. You wouldn't happen to have an appetite for a cookie, would you?
I like cookies.
You like cookies?
Uh-huh.
I don't. I hate cookies. Look at me. I am a cookie.
Oh, I didn't hear that part of the improv.
I used to have a monkey tail.
Guys, that's amazing. We got that. I don't know about you guys, the entire time I was waiting for like a joint Kamehameha, kind of like Gohan and Goku, and it never happened. I think it's because Deborah was just more like obsessed with cookies than he was like, you know, I'm gonna fight you guys. But it's still amazing. I love you guys so much.
Hey, if you guys have questions, I mean, this is a very, very rare and unique opportunity to have these amazing Dragon Ballers on stage together at the same time, at the same con. If you have questions, come on up. Come on up, come on up.
Hold my camera.
What's your name? Ask your question.
What was it like recording for Dragon Ball?
Well, when we were recording it, we did it right off of Nozawa, like the original Goku in Japan. So I would hear her actual audio in my headphones, and then they would play the scene out, and we would dub it into English from her. So, I mean, looking back now, I mean, she is like, I don't know, she's like the Beyonce of the animation world. Like, she's just a goddess of animation. I mean, she's in her 80s now, I believe, and still doing the role. She's incredible. And looking back now, hearing her and then presenting her to North America was it's a bit of an honor. It's a bit of a cool feeling. So it was a really cool experience recording.
Yeah, really, when I was recording, we recorded from script, and now on anime we record from a monitor, and we see it played back. So we were watching playback, so we would grab the lines on script, look at playback of the anime, and then record. So I still remember that feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm getting to do this, because I was an accountant, and then I became an actor. So I still remember going, this is amazing, this is so much fun to be able to do the fight scenes, and do the lines, and just be acting in general. So I still remember that feeling, even though it was a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because to me it was like rubbing my stomach and patting my head. Because, has anybody here seen the movie Mrs. Doubtfire? Okay, now, you remember the opening scene with Robin Williams? He's doing voiceover and he's looking at a screen and he's doing this thing. It's very much like that you're trying to match your mouth to the Japanese while you're doing your lines. And so that has to fit just perfectly. And then you get to cut loose with whatever you have, and it's fun.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the question. Hi, what's your name?
Kylie? I forgot to mention that yesterday, but yeah, that's my name. Yes, I was.
What's your question?
This is for Peter. What's your favorite Goku line? And can you say it to me?
Favorite Goku line?
Besides,
There's a few. No, there's a few. No, there's a few. I'm torn. One was, I think I might even get it wrong, but, well, they asked me to rearrange his face, so I did. It's kind of a combo of two of my favorite ones.
That's awesome.
that's great. That's great. At least we know you have a favorite line. What's your favorite line?
I do have a favorite line that probably nobody knows but me, but cheeseburgers, fries, and blueberry pies is what I use to get back into character. I have not voiced Pan in a while, but what I do say all the time is Grandpa. Some form or fashion of that.
You know, she brings up a very good point. A lot of times when you're doing a voice or an impression, you have to have a reference line, you know, to kind of get you into that character. And mine was always, yes, Master Poppity. I don't know why, but it just put me in there.
Chickity Poppity.
Yeah, probably was too. That's the one line I said the most.
All right, what's your name?
My name's Cora.
Hi, Coral.
My question was, when doing things that are extremely like vocally straining, like going Saiyan, is there any times that you guys like blew out your voices and had to like stop recording for a while?
My voice would certainly crack at certain takes. That's when you start realizing it's getting fatigued. And usually, like the next couple of days, we're like really sore. We used to try to avoid doing any other shows after Dragonball Z before because we'd be really in rough shape.
Yeah, I actually never lost my voice doing fighting scenes. So I mentioned having asthma. I've lost it because of asthma. One time, I worked with Rick a lot, and one time wasn't able to do work for him because I lost my voice. But doing fighting scenes, I've never lost it. So don't know why that is, but I'm glad.
There you go. It was funny yesterday when we were doing this, and I was doing, you know, I actually sort of blew my voice a little bit yesterday, and I seriously, I got back to the room last night, and I'm like, I'm sounding really scratchy.
When do you practice this at home, like in the bathroom here?
Oh, careful. It's okay.
Yes, I do. I do that.
Every day.
Every night.
Hey, what's your name?
Ashton,
Hey, Ashton, what's your question?
my question is, when you're doing voice acting, when you switch from like a fatigued voice to a fighting voice or your regular voice, how hard is it to do that?
So when you switch from, did you say a fatigued voice?
Like when you're like hurt.
Oh, like when you're hurt. So he's asking when you switch from a fatigued voice when you're hurt to a fighting voice to something else, how hard is that? That's a great question. I think, part of it, if you're an actor and have been doing it for a while, you get accustomed to doing that. So, if somebody's wanting to get into it, just doing training and practicing so you can either study with somebody to do it or practice on your own. So, I don't know if I find it hard now. Do you guys?
Yeah, I want to clarify something.
Yeah.
When you're talking about switching between characters,
No, I'm just talking about like when, like you get hit with something and then your voice, like maybe your voice changed.
okay.
Yeah, no, I say it comes down to performance. So it comes down to, I guess, acting skill and being able to change, being in the moment in the scene. So if the scene is you've just been hit and you're down, then that's what you do. And if suddenly you erupt into a surge of power or something like that, then you just adapt and do that. So I think it just comes down to acting ability and what's required in the scene.
Yeah, and you want to try and surprise people a little bit with where you're going with it, if you can. Oh, James. Hello.
Alright, so my question for you guys is, who is your biggest inspiration growing up, or that kind of got you into thinking maybe you wanted to do this one day?
for me was Rich Little. He was a classic comedian, but he specialized in impressions. And he used to have his own TV show in the 70s, and I was quite young, but I remember watching the show and being fascinated by the fact that he would turn into all these characters with his voice. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing in the world. So that was early on, and then, I mean, as I got a little older and progressed, and other entertainers became big, like I say, Robin Williams was like a huge one, and I got to improvise with him a couple of times on stage, which was like a highlight of my life. So certain people throughout my career that just really made an impact, and I think those two were pretty big.
So rumor has it you do a Robin Williams impersonation.
Oh, hello.
Real quick, who are your two, who inspired you guys?
You go.
Sorry, what,
Who inspired you growing up to do voice acting?
Believe it or not, there was a guy named Jonathan Winters who was sort of an inspiration of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And my dad had his albums, when I was growing up, and I would listen to him just kind of go off and make up stuff. And it was just the most fun, And then, as I said yesterday when we were being interviewed, you really perfect your voices is when you're trying to meet girls. Because your voices can say things that girls, you couldn't say as you.
Shout out to Mark and Mindy, because Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters, amazing show.
Yeah.
Please, please.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a specific person. It never occurred to me when I was growing up to be an actor. I didn't know any actors, didn't think you could become an actor. I was doing the practical thing of becoming an accountant. But I would say I loved animation, so when I did decide to become an actor, I had done plenty of research by watching, animated shows and feature films. So it's more of a general answer. And then once I decided to quit that accounting job that was so much fun and become an actor, I then got busy studying, and I definitely had people who mentored me and helped me. And so I would say the mentors and my teachers were the biggest inspiration at that time. So mine is not quite as exciting as their answers, but it's true.
Thank you, guys.
And I remember in high school, we used to watch Saturday Night Live, it was hilarious to us. So whatever, you could tell what sketches were on Saturday, because Monday morning we would all look up at school and it's like, you open mouth. Or whatever it was that they did, like the big sketch of that weekend, and we would do it endlessly. It was fantastic. So, yeah.
My favorite size is church lady.
Church lady, that's fast.
I'm not going to stop, though. Really? Like you say that. I'm next thing.
Deborah? Hey, what's your name? What's your question?
Riley, and my question is, so when you're auditioning for a role, do you ever feel like anxious or nervous and how do you feel like after you come back?
You guys might have to.
So, do you guys ever get anxious when auditioning for a role?
Okay, so she's asking, like when we're auditioning for a role, do we ever get anxious? And then if we don't get it, how do we deal?
I would say this. The people that are newest to voiceover remember every audition. They're always wondering, like, am I going to get this or am I going to get that? People that have been in voiceover a while, you just do the audition and move on. It's kind of like a golf shot. And if occasionally that audition comes back to you, that it will, then, so much the better. But you just never know. Like I auditioned a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure with half the world, to be the voice of Taco Bueno. But I got it, and so I was happy about that. But I'm sure a lot of people auditioned for it, and I auditioned for a million things that I didn't get. So, like I said, you just gotta do it and put it behind you. I'm always shocked, like somebody comes back and says, "We're supposed to hire you." What? Thanks.
What about you?
Yeah, with the animation ones, I seem to have more fun. Like they'll give me the breakdown, and I really do have fun auditioning. The on-camera stuff I think is a little more nerve-wracking because you have to memorize all your lines, you have to be in the scene, know what's going on, and it'll seem to be a little more stressful. But I mean, there are times where I really wanted to roll and thought I put in something good and got nothing. And a couple other times where I went in there and it was like, oh, I blew it so bad. And then they get a call like, you got the part. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I think they're making a horrible mistake here. I said, okay, I'm coming in. So you never know.
What's funny is how people, I mean, like, they do this open kind of casting audition thing, and you know how you do like your first voice and then you do your second one.
Yeah.
Well, the second one's always kind of a throwaway, right?
Yeah.
And I did some horrible British butler accent, right?
Yeah.
They said they were looking for a horrible British butler. That's the voice they wanted. And I'm like, I didn't think I had a prayer. There's no way.
I remember one time there was a show called Class of the Titans, an animated show, where it was kind of based on Greek mythology and stuff like that. And they had requested me to go in and read for a number of the male characters. So I did those, and they were like, okay, well, unless there's anything else for good, and I said, oh no, I want to read for Grandma Hercules. It was like this 93-year-old Greek grandmother. And they were like, really? Yeah. So I did an imitation of my own grandmother, and it's like, oh, Harry, you're so tired. It's like going to the young for the night. And then I ended up getting hard. So I like when you surprise them, and it's a badge of honor because they what do you mean you want to read for that role? Okay, now I'm really going to go for this. I have something to prove here to myself, and that one worked out.
And I want to say something to address that. I think voiceovers are more competitive than they are nervous. You know, you talk about having anxiety.
That's true.
Before you perform or whatever. No, I think real voiceover wants to beat the pants off any other voiceover. The guy that trained me, I'll never forget, he said, I think it was Bob DeGruder, right? And it was a role for a 12-year-old girl, and he had a voice like mine. He goes, I could play a 12-year-old girl. No, you can't. And he thought he could. He really did.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things I found was much more before COVID and all that, when we would go in physically to auditions, we'd be outside the studio, the waiting room and all that, and there'd be like 15 actors there. And you thought you were in an asylum. Because 90% of them sometimes, I don't know whether it's in security theater, they think they got to put on a voice, and you don't even hear anybody using the real voice. Like, oh, hello, how are you? It's just a room full of crazy people just firing out all these voices, and it's hilarious.
But my answer to the question, it's actually similar to Peter's. I don't get nervous when I'm doing voiceover auditions, but like I had a TV audition recently, and I did get nervous because it's a big deal, and I wanted it. Now, one way that I combat the nerves is preparation, and so I had a teacher in LA for its TV sitcom class, and she was like, let's just always talk about the elephant in the room. You're going to be nervous. Like, she coached, celebrities at the highest level for TV and film. She was like, tighten your whole body, admit that you're nervous.